Yes, greetings to you. I never self introspection as it pertains to my going inside of myself and analyzing the whatever it is that is going on with me and trying to strengthen my resolve. And when I speak of resolve, I really mean character resolve. And character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. And the only thing that I bear witness to and that which I represent is the source of my thinking. And when I'm talking about the source of my thinking, I'm talking about what people will call, vision. And talk about vision, you're talking about that which has been, revealed to you, and that in which I see myself presently in the future is where I would like to be. Needless to say, that vision has been contaminated and corrupted over time. So it has become very difficult, yet challenging, yet difficult, but not impossible, to eliminate any blockages that may be in the way since being born into this society or this reality in which the world in which I live. And one thing I realize about truth, that truth is the cause that affects my reality. So I gather information through study and comprehension and through observation, trying to reconnect and finding and strengthening my resolve. Yes, I realize that there are 4 things that we face every day: problems, questions, issues, and needs. I must say that this was shared with me by a gentleman by the name of Reverend James Bevel, one of Dr. Luther King lieutenants, whom I interact on many occasions with personally. Yes. And I realized that I came back to him with that. When he said that, I said, problems are designed to be solved, issues resolved, needs met, and questions answered. I say there's a mathematical equation to any and everything in life. Yes. Says the answer to the question is a question of governance. I think Al Manzou said on one of his documentaries, as it pertains to history of African countries, said that you can teach people other languages, but you can't teach them how to govern. That they must learn for themselves. And speaking of language, I like to deal with the linguistic part of anything that I present, the linguistic dislocation, or being linguistically dislocated when it comes to people who are of a darker hue here in America. Oh, well, yeah, then I I realized that in realizing saying being a descendant of of people from Africa, or some will even associate with the copper people. Yes, to uh, approaches and two understandings. And I like to use things in a generic fashion. What I mean by that, it says I'm a descendant of African people, and a people is less numerous than a race. And I realize that a people know how to communicate as a family, their humanity one with another. That's a people. Yes. And dealing with the descendant question, I said, yes, I am a descendant of inspiration. Yes. And when you are a descendant of inspiration, you know that when inspiration comes down, your aspiration goes up. Yes. So if a psychologist here in this country called North America, some will call it the wilderness, because it is wild. Has some good tendencies, but it is wild for the most part. That when a person is not able to reach or achieve his or her aspirations, he or she becomes depressed. You see, I got that understanding by coming to conclude understanding the Brown 1954 decision, Brown versus the Board of Education, was that you have inadequate schools, inadequate tools, inadequate utensils, inadequate books. Because I come to conclude that adequate cooperation leads to proper communication, and that's how you effectively coordinate your power. So it's about coordinated power. So when I think about leadership, all I think about is coordination, because I get it out of the gender term. I just deal with leadership from a generic point of view, and I call it coordination. You see? Yes. Because we are living in a society where we know that vanity is the enemy of consciousness. Yes. I know that we want to be seen, but there is and I'm not very religious. People do things just to be seen. Yes, and I didn't want to use the religious term called shirk. Yes. Now, as a introduction, I did not deal with the other three things that we face every day. I deal with the question. It's a question of governance. The answer is a question of governance, and the problem, I said, is many suffering from an identity crisis and giving solutions, because many as brother Azania wrote, from former political prisoner with the Black Panther Party. He said that mental breakdowns is due to psychological breakdowns is to living phony lives or phony identities. Yes, you're something that you pretend to be something that you're not. And what are we? What are we? We are a organism. Yes, a living organism. Yes, that evolves and grows, and some physically grows, but yet mentally they could be underdeveloped. Yes. So what is the need? The need is for spiritual guidance. I've learned by Brother Julius Nettlebay that anything remains as a natural form and natural state is spiritual. Yes. What is that? I said problems, questions, issues, and need, and then finally the issue. As I started out, is about finding resolve. The issue is character resolve. Yes, I'm not I'm not a dogmatic person. I don't, my position in which I speak from is a position of respect. And Dr. Francis Quells Wells said that people don't, respect themselves, they don't protect themselves. And I say that to say is that we know that respect is to look at the ability of a person to accept him or her as they are. And Sly never said it better. Everybody is a star, and and that which should be celebrated. is when we are, unified. Yes, and when you are unified, you know that you do things for the public good, and there is no exclusivity. That it is to benefit all and not to benefit the few. So we're talking about having a quest to accessibility not only to wealth, to a higher state of consciousness. Yes, because out of understanding comes consciousness. Yeah, it is written in the book of Hosea. Talks about if you see a person, your senior, outside, walk behind him or her respectfully. Give also a hand to the elders, filled with beer, and respect them as their children would. The strong arm is not weakened by being uncovered, and the back is not broken by bending it in respect. Better is a poor person who speaks pleasant words than a rich person whose words are as harsh as dry as a straw. A pilot who sees far ahead will not wreck the ship on the rocks. Yes, as that is in addition to what I started off in saying in its self-introspection, and I really want to deal with, conscious raising or raising consciousness when it comes to one's moral characteristics. I want to talk about that, and I say that the people only are responding and reacting to the extent of the damage, or the extent of the damage, or the injury that has been done to his or her humanity. Yes. So, I going through a valley situation. Personally, it's no problem. I deal with it because I realize that resiliency is the author of success. Yes. And resiliency means to get back in shape, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Because social stress leads to mental pain, and mental pain leads to physical harm. Yes. So resiliency is the author of success. I was challenged of trying to obtain some sustenance, and I say that's what many people are deprived of, sustenance. And it's like if you throw a net to catch fish, and if the net is not strong enough and the support is not strong enough, of course you're going to lose all the fish. Yes, that what you catch. So yes, and I was going to get some what they call sustenance or food, and I from a place titled The Good Samaritan. Yes, and I know that the Nation of Islam have a take on Farah Muhammad being the Good Samaritan. Yes, and we know the Good Samaritan is in what they call the English Bible. Yes, when you are in a unfortunate situation and you are deprived of a strong sustenance and support, more than likely you will have to depend on the kindness or the benevolence of others. Yes, I am very thankful and grateful for that. There are some good things, many good things that can be tapped into that can serve as that could really make America what she ought to be. It is difficult to do so when he or she, or whatever you want to call it, has no, when their moral conscience is diminishing. Yes, because when you deal with one's moral characteristics and what people come accustomed to, when you talk about the word in the Bible, they talk about in the English version of the Bible. I'm not dogmatic. I'm just saying that has influence over me, and that's what I have been introduced to that. I have been introduced to the Quran. I've been introduced to the Hosea. I've been introduced to literature. I've been introduced to reading. So I've been introduced to these things. I've been introduced to drugs. I've been introduced to alcohol. I've been introduced to prostitution. I've been introduced to these things. So these things have an impact and effect on my life and in my thinking as well as my behavior. So as I was going down there to the place, I may have deviated some. That's cool. I get some help, and they I always wanted to read, so that I have got went and got a book. And, I want to get a book because I like to read. If anything, one must become a master of his or her circumstances and to be proficiently and effective in it. But yes, so I went and got a book. And in addition to any other support that the organization was giving me, yes, in their benevolence. So, and as I got a book, I looked at it, and the name of the book was called Exploring Spiritual Direction. Yes, because I've learned that anything in its natural form, natural state, once again, is spiritual. So the chapter 4 the name of it was titled Asking for Help, The Road to Freedom. Yes. But we talked about in this country freedom, justice, and equality, and asking for help. I think sometimes we tend to get caught up on our pride, and we cannot ask for help, nor do we, go about seeking guidance. And when you seek guidance, you cultivate friendships. Yes. But in that book, it was talking about raising, a conscious raising, in that chapter, I should say. Well, in that chapter, it was talking about how old new ideas that one has, and trying to put them in the old mind. You know what I'm saying? It's like your mind is warped. You got to clean out the old in order to put in the new. But it was talking about developing a new perspective on life, huh? And I think that's the thing that's what's going on. And in studying this, the evidence of it is from a linguistic point of view, as I did with the linguistic dislocation. Yes, and I always follow the evidence, and it goes on to say that the risk that one takes, the old is always having to shift to accommodate the new insight, to new. A new perspective, and consciousness needs to be raised for spiritual guidance, and the willingness is to deal with this reality in which one is living in, which has become a challenge. Yes. So, in that regards, I was going on to try to play a particular role or a particular part of trying to fit in the society in which I reside. And it has become very difficult to fit in the society, because you got to realize that sometimes the conditions in which he or she lives in is not suitable for him or her. So therefore, all they're doing is acting out in that manner. And I was looking at science. And as I was looking at science, I was using a cipher called apcleology. And I was encoding and decoding an English alphabet system. And science teaches me how to communicate one's reason for being as a living organism, you see. Now, as that be the case, I was looking at that again and talking about as a passage and talk about fasting. And we know certain religious things are coming up in this day and time, and religious, just leave it at that. But it's still self-introspection, because I'm talking about wondering how and the manner and the way in which dealing with not only respect, but that which I become accustomed to, and as it pertains to my moral characteristics, It says in this English version, it talk about fasting. And it says, then came. When you're talking about came, it means there was an assertion how they approached this particular. It's not so much as an individual, but if we want to deal with the individual, because I don't deal with the individual, I'll deal with the personage, the importance of what is being said, and not the individual. You see. Now, came to him his disciples. Now, some people can approach you in a wrong manner. You see what I'm saying? I remember one instance was I was on a job and someone was trying to get my attention, and the manner and the way in which he approached me was disrespectful, and I did not like that. So therefore I reacted and responded due to the fact of the extent or the injury that has been done to my humanity. Yes. And needless to say, I got, terminated while he stayed on the job. Yes, it was I did not physically touch him. It is what I said out of my mouth. Yes. Now, and we deal with positioning and jockeying. Now, these were disciples of what they call John. And when I'm talking about John, I'm talking about one's moral and spiritual understanding. And it was like people are jockeying and posturing for position. People are jockeying and posturing, just to be seen. You know what I'm saying? They are jockeying for position, because I come to realize in the society in which we live, many in the society are struggling with the value of self-worth. Yes. So, saying, why do we have to fast? While the Pharisees, they do not. I may be saying around that, why do we and the Pharisees fast, but the disciples fast not? We'll talk about one's moral characteristics. And his response was, can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom should be taken from them, and they fast. Which means when your parents are around, you're learning from their moral behavior and their moral characteristics. You're learning. But then there'll come a time when one of them will depart, and they will depart. And when they depart, and that which you have become accustomed to, you will take on those same moral characteristics that you have learned from them. And one of the main moral characteristics that we must continue, or what I have come to continue to learn, is respect. And when you deal with respect is to look at the ability of a person to accept him or her as they are. And when you have respect, you have social solidarity. When you have social solidarity, you are organized, and anything that come up against you will proceed with caution, because you have that respect. And one thing I realize about respect, that it must be earned. And anytime your living conditions is not suitable for you, and you know that there is something better for you in life, and there is something more out there for you to do and accomplish, but there is no accessibility. There's no me. Well, what is the blueprint then? Some will look at the blueprint as the Bible. Some will look at the blueprint as the Quran. Whatever was the blueprint? The blueprint is due to the fact of competing influences, and that which has damaged our humanity, and that which has damaged our humanity, it stems from our thinking. It stems from our thinking. And when that which stems from your thinking, and therefore that's how he or she will behave. Self-introspection. Until next time.